session. I call Panagiotis Bamidis. He is professor of medical physics at the University of Thessaloniki, Aristotle University, and also president of Hellenic Society of Biomedical Technology. And is going to tell us about empowering patient advocacy and cancer prevention. You have 15 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the introduction. I'll try to be brief because I think I'm the only one separating you from lunch.
Closer to the mic.
Isn't that the case?
Closer to the mic.
Okay, so my name is Panagiotis Bamidis. I'm the director of the Lab of Medical Physics and Digital Innovation, the School of Medicine here at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. Just a short declaration of no conflicts, basically, for this talk. The lab is one of the largest of the university, dealing with a number of research topics around technology as applied to healthcare, operating with different research groups on various topics, multimodal physical training, imaging, AI and analysis of data, visual analysis, and sensor development. But one of the things that I wanted to focus on this specific talk, and I'm trying to connect, I'll try to connect it later on, is the living lab that we have established in the last few years as one of the first, in fact, actual health-oriented and centered living labs. Which started as a living lab on active and healthy aging, but now embraces a number of other organizations and initiatives within and outside the university. It is celebrating the 10th year of existence this year. And I will explain in the next few slides why I'm saying this. But let me start from involving patients. I'm sure that you have mentioned a few things. I'm now looking at it from a research perspective, a research projects perspective. Patient-public involvement is something that we frequently see in research calls from the European Commission, etc. In research, it refers to the inclusion, but also engagement of patients or lay public people as partners, essentially in the various stages of the research process. Or as research being carried out with and by the members of the public rather than to and about or for the members of the public. This is something that was defined by the National Institute for Research and for Health Research. So you can see these three types of different types of contribution, patients and the public, and how they can contribute in research. Involvement, where people are actively involved in research projects and in research organizations. Participation, where people can take part in the research study. And engagement, where information and knowledge about research is shared with the public. But involving patients in all steps of research, it's something I think much larger. It doesn't mean only to use them as test subjects and perform usual assessments like usability tests or conformance with standards or measuring the results and connecting the data. Basically, it would probably mean in our case involving them as part of the original idea, conception of the research idea, developing a focused research question that would be of meaningful to them. And also in development stages where the group that develops the solution, the so-called technological solution, will collaborate with them, but also with other researchers to design a research approach, but also even at the stage of proposal, research proposal. And the funding could also be one of the points, joining committees that would help research funders to decide, etc., etc. But also delivering the actual system, involving them in trials, involving them specifically to give specific insights, also in recruiting patients and participants, but testing them, of course, evaluating, etc. But the last but not least is also to publish. Okay, it's something I think we haven't managed anything like this yet, even in my group with almost an 8-year experience in trying to involve patients in all steps of research. So in one of the projects we had recently concluded, which is funded by the European Commission, it's called LifeChamps. It was focusing on cancer patients with prostate cancer, breast cancer, and melanoma, skin cancer. And the actual call was asking for integration of different technologies and care models, specific focus on all older cancer people, also older cancer patients, so plus 63 plus, 65 plus. And we consider those that receive therapies and they have we call them champions of life. Based on big data big data collections and quality of life questionnaires and stuff like that, so that we can get a behaviorome, as we say. The LifeChamps project therefore collected many different types of data, collection of everyday data with smartwatches, living duties and actions within the house with smart scales and smart plugs and stuff like that, but also asking people to reply to questionnaires and so that we can get how they feel, how they think the outcome of the research or the symptoms or the quality of life is getting along. Why we concentrate on older adults? Because cancer is more frequently encountered in older ages, but there is also a chiasm, and most of the drugs are developed and tried for not for older adults, but for younger populations, and therefore there is insufficient care to support older cancer patients, inequitable access to cancer care, which might lead to poor outcomes. And therefore, we have this frailty syndrome, which goes hand by hand with cancer and deteriorates the quality of life even further. And that results in further to fragmented models of care, etc. So in LifeChamps, as we said, we collected many different data together with any patient information from profiles, clinical profiles. We try to accommodate them in collections of big data collections so that we can have, collecting data for quite a few months, not just for one instance, and accommodating them in large pools of big data and then running different models, machine learning and stuff like that in there. So basically we try to engage different actions together. And one of them was also to get the responses from the patients. This is just a short example of how this was happening technology-wise, with trackers of daily activity, wearable T-shirts, smart plugs, smart scales, as I mentioned, but also devices that wouldn't allow data to leave the house, in a raw way, validating data and forwarding them for storage so that we can have the bioethical approval of these. So in all these activities, we engaged what we call in software engineering an agile methodology of development in all phases, not only in the user requirements and use case scenarios, etc., but in all phases of the development cycle. So I'll just give you a short overview of how this was happening. And most of these phases we had what we call co-validation activities, followed by the participatory methodologies, which fostered basically user engagement, different ethical considerations and structured collaboration. We collected a lot of patient-reported outcome measures. We employed them in the system design so that we can collect data like this, self-reporting educational and motivational contents, and the navigation of the app. All these were co-designed by the patient so that we can run at the end real-life pilots that would be usable for the patients themselves. And the reported outcomes measure, I think it's one of those data that we see nowadays. It's of substantial importance, I would say. Why am I saying this? Because if you ask the doctors 15 years ago, they wouldn't mind about what the patients thought. But as Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 came along, we started seeing the importance of user-generated data, and therefore this notion started from there with patient-reported outcome measures and patient-reported experience measures, where patients through short, valid, and standardized questionnaires will give the essence of how the treatment is going or how the intervention might be going, etc. This is followed now throughout all the digital medicine initiatives, not only with regards to the patient themselves, just self-reporting, but also being guided by doctors, not just a simple observer, but being guided by doctors to fulfill these questionnaires. And we also have, of course, in all these clinical outcome assessments, the opinion and the questionnaires from the doctors themselves, and also what is called performance outcomes, etc. So different names, different such abbreviations have been used. You name it, you have it in different types of cancer, different types of diseases, basically. So in this schedule that in this figure that I showed earlier on, there were questionnaires in apps that the patients were having through the LifeScience system that could be able to respond to these and collect these data throughout the involvement in the trials. So to do this, we started all these co-design workshops, mock-ups, feedback collection, etc. Not only in usability testing, as I mentioned, but essentially throughout the whole thing. But not only the patients themselves, but also the co-design model, which biomarkers will be using. We're also following this co-creation approach with different clinicians, collecting different clinical models, considering how this might be done with might be collected from the patients, etc. I would like to skip a couple of slides just to connect it with the vehicle that we used. So we have the Thessaloniki Action for Health and Well-Being Living Well Lab, which has got physical spaces and digital spaces, to do that. Collect some of these data. This is one of the constructions within the hospital that we have, which was utilized also in the study, but also engagement with different societies, clinical society on one hand from the International Society of Geriatric Oncology, but also cancer associations, patient associations on the other side, like the Almas Dois, which is a local breast cancer association here, but also the European cancer patient societies. And we thought at some point of taking this partnership even further. So we involved the European Network of Living Labs and at the same time some structures in the European Commission. And we dropped what is now called as oncology-focused living labs, which actually is a new challenge, but rather an opportunity to transform cancer clinical practice and care. And we envision that we could use this for collaboration, research, but also real life experimentation, etc. So in one of the small projects that we had, and we concluded a couple of months ago, we tried to make this experimentation a reality. So we involved patients as lifelong researchers for cancer. We made them partners for cancer throughout the whole project duration. And we also involved the students, the medical students, together with the patients and the clinicians and the developers as themselves, try to elicit the requirements that they had for the problems and create the first living lab as a result of this close collaboration between cancer patients medical students and the rest of the stakeholders. But what is it, a living lab? It's a user-centered open innovation system, ecosystem, which often operates in a thematic context, like a city, an area, or a medical community, integrating research and innovation processes in a public-private society and science partnership. So it involves what is called the quadruple helix approach. And the research process that we followed here was the public elements, the citizens themselves, the research community, and also the public, the private sectors. So there was a lot of playing and gaming within this notion to deliver the living lab at the end. So we try to cultivate this notion now in a joint action about using telemedicine for cancer. And finally, for preventing, it's the same kind of methodology we have followed for developing what is called an EU mobile app for cancer prevention, which is going to be out in the next couple of months. The project is concluding this month, and it's given by the HADEA, the Directive for Technology and Development and Innovation, and specifically emphasis in cancer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Bamidis. Questions, comments? I have a question. Did you not think to maybe work on the cost-benefit analysis of hadron therapy infrastructure in Greece?
We haven't done anything on hadron therapy cost effectiveness, but we are doing cost effectiveness. We have done cost effectiveness of these technological approaches, like complementing approaches like technologies with mobile apps or interventions that use technological tools, and whether these are cost effective for the whole care, holistic whole care. It would be very nice, and our vision is that the tools that we have available and the methodology we have available can also be side by side used by any other hadron therapy sessions and or even simple radiotherapy sessions to accommodate the needs of patients and the members of the family, basically, which are also care providers.
Question over there, and also here.
Over there first. Okay. Sorry, it's not the question, it's just adding to the answer of Professor Bamidis, is that yes, we have done that 10 years ago. We have done a cost effectiveness essay, and the whole business plan, let's say business plan and technological plan for proton therapy center. We didn't go any further from that, but really the market was there, was a weakness at that time. And yes, for Greece, it's very cost effective. We didn't have done that for carbon because carbon was not an issue at that time, and it's quite expensive for the scale of Greece at least. But we have done it for protons.
Very good.
Excellent.
Maybe you can share with those that
to share the results and not repeat the process.
Oh, of course, yes.
Very good.
We can have a joint venture because Greece needs that. Needs a hadron therapy center, and we need to join forces all over in order to do something like that.
Absolutely.
May I just add, just to what you said, is that we actually tried for almost 10 years in Greece. And, every time there's some sort of a hurdle that comes in, I absolutely agree with Kiki, of course. And that was Larissa 10 years ago now. Okay. And we tried Athens, we tried Thessaloniki in the past. So I think it's really important, this collaboration and working together, because every time it's happened, there's been shall we say, a hurdle in the way. Okay. So working together would be the way to go. Just my support for what you've just said.
I am experiencing that you keep going, you keep trying, and this is important. Never give up. Lisa.
So thank you for your presentation. I do have a more general question. So if we look at questionnaires about quality of life, they have never been used to approve a drug. So my question is a more general one. Do we think that by using these digital tools, digital biomarkers, we will be ever there be ever a possibility to use them to approve drugs or approve approaches or whatever. So which do you think it might be the real added value so that we make them so important that they are used for approving drugs in clinical trials, for example?
A very good question. I think it ties also not only with the quality of life questionnaire, but generally what I said as PROMs, PREMs, and all these observatory or self-reporting things, but also with a set of objective measurements that we are doing, like real life daily activity measurement with watches, with gadgets, and stuff like that. As I was saying to a couple of sessions in the context of the other conference that we are running, these are never taken into account so far. I mean, the data I'm collecting with my watch, who's using them? Apple does. Okay, not the national health system for nothing. The national record at the moment doesn't take into account user-generated data per se. But that's very important, I think, because I have continuous measurements of my heart flow, my heart rate, I mean, and my working capacity. And if you have data from my questionnaires of my quality of life on a daily or a weekly basis, that's a wealth of data. Oh, come on. Who is going to deny all these? I mean, it's just a matter of being able to collect them on a daily basis or on a frequent basis and utilizing them. I think the pharmaceutical companies have seen an essence in these because a lot of them are now funding digital health solutions together with the trial or drug trials, I mean, clinical trials. I mean, I think there are quite a few hundreds of trials funded on a small scale, some of them, but you know, they have seen the meaning in the last 5 years, I would say, because 10 years ago I was trying to convince the local pharma, no interest. I mean, it was local pharma, which wasn't too much, but it was no interest. I was starting saying, you know, you have drugs for Parkinson patients. Would you like to give us, you know, 25K to do this trial for you? You will have a rich amount of data. No. Now they will pay 200, I think, but you know, it's getting there. I think it's getting there together with the message that there are a lot of patient-reported data that is not used because. What is an adverse drug effect, for example? You know, the official process is that we collaborate with the doctor or a pharmacist, and we drop in a yellow card, as it says, to the drug association, etc. That's the formal process. But you can also utilize something like, you know, I have you be using this drug, and you know, I have such and such experiences, and you do it in Twitter or Facebook. A service might be able to collect this, but this is not, you know, information that you can ignore. If somebody is complaining all the time about the quality of life, there must be something there.
Okay, so let's thank the speaker again. We are 10 minutes, 15 minutes out of time, so I will be very fast. Just let me mention what I get as a keyword, a multidimensional keyword of this session, and this the word networking. Networking is really touching most of the talks that we have heard this morning. It was internal networking for the economics. If we don't have a real network that control all the steps, you don't feel to enhance your facility. It's important for the collection and the sharing of the data. This is fundamental also to speak the same languages among those professionals that are rotating around our world. It's important also to avoid travel of patients, not useful travels and costs, because if we exchange beforehand and we select in an appropriate way the patient for the technology, then really we are most effective, and also we don't impact on the life of the people. So networking is really a keyword that we have to underline. And then I want to conclude with another, let's say, shift of paradigm that to me is coming out of this session. you have seen that the focus is not on on the disease. The focus is not anymore on the patient, but the focus should be put on the person. What the person that we are treating is still a person, is not a patient, has also needs, has also interests that are outside the problem, and we need to take care of the person to really do our job. Thank you.
Just one more minute, please.
Yeah, here closes the session in this room, but I just wanted to remind you that in the main auditorium, Professor Roberto Orecchia and Arnold Campos are giving a presentation in the framework of the Aristotle Medical Forum in the session of the role of artificial intelligence in radiation therapy. So I encourage you to just step in the main auditorium. Thank you very much.